Good afternoon. My name is Ben Weisenberger. I'm an application engineer with Allied PLM Solutions. I want to welcome you to the Allied PLM Lunch Byte series. These sessions are designed to briefly explore capabilities within Solid Edge that you may not be aware of. We hold these sessions every other Thursday at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central. Today's topic that we'll be covering is about what's new in ST4. If you have any questions during today's session, please write them down and send us an email. Some topics that we'll cover today. We'll go over the Revolve feature, which includes live sections. We'll talk about the hole placement enhancement, some relate tools. We'll also talk about web networks, the variable table enhancement, which was very popular among people, a sheet metal and material gauge table. I'll also talk about how to extrude from assembly faces, copy components, and some other assembly relationships. The relate tools, we have 3D offset relationship now. We also have 3D model horizontal and vertical relationship. With both of these, if you have them drawn in the 2D sketch, it'll transfer to the 3D model, which is cool, and I'll show you that in a minute. In web network, it's easier now to choose a sketch. You can also make changes with synchronous technology to the web network, and I'll show you that as well in a minute. So if we switch over Solid Edge here, first thing I'm going to show you is a Revolve feature and live sections. So before we would have had to use Revolve, or we could have grabbed the region and selected Revolve from the drop down here. But now in ST4, what we can do is we can grab the region, select that steering wheel, drag it down, and place it on an axis. And that'll change to a torus here, and we can grab that torus then and just revolve that feature around. You can press shift, and that'll toggle between symmetric or non-symmetric. And we're just going to do 360 all the way around and place this, and you can see it takes our PMI dimensions there from the sketch and places them onto the model as driving dimensions. So now let's say we want to make some changes to this part. We can go in and grab the dimension here, and we can go ahead and edit this. Let's make this 15, and that'll update our live section. You can see our live section in blue there. We can also make some other changes. Let's make this 9, and again it automatically updates our live section. One of the new features is the hole feature. If we grab the hole, we can then lock it to the top plane up here on the cylinder, and then we have an option here. The synchronous hole command has been enhanced to allow precision placement of a tangent plane within the command. You can key in precise angle for this tangent plane, and the plane is not persisted after the command is completed. So after you place the hole, this tangent plane goes away. So if you want to put it at an angle, that is the angle that the hole will go through the part. So we want to just put it up here on the top, so we'll lock it up there. And you can see our plane now. And if we preview that hole across it, you can see it's staying in line with that plane. So now let's say we want to do it on the midpoint of this line. Well, if we just touch that line and hit M, it now gives us a measurement to that midpoint, so you can offset it if you want from the midpoint, or if we type in 0, we're now locked to the midpoint, and we can just go ahead and click then on that line, and it places it for us, and it also updates our live section for us. So you can see that cut out now all the way through. If you add another feature, we're going to add a cut down over here. It'll automatically create a new live section for you wherever you place that feature if it's not already on a live section. So here we'll just sketch real quick. We'll add some dimensions. It's my fault. We'll make this 5. We'll add another one here, 20. So now if we grab this region and we move the steering wheel again down to the axis, we can then rotate it all the way around, make that cutout, and it places our dimension for us as a driving dimension. It also puts our live section here, and it updates the other live section with the cutout. So you could go in then and edit this dimension and change that cutout, and it updates both of the live sections. Something else that's new, we'll show you some offset relationships here. Let me open up a new part. So here we have a part, and let's say we want to offset these faces to this inner ring here. So we go up here to our offset face relate command. We have the option between single align or multiple align. For this one we're going to do multiple align. We're going to grab two faces here, hit accept, and then we're going to grab this outside ring, and now we can enter in an offset value. We'll make it 1. So there's that value. If you tried to go back in here and do another offset to that same face that we offsetted those to, it won't allow you. You can only have one constraint to that face. So you have to decide how exactly you want that constrained. We can go back here. If we use the single align, we can select these 3 inside faces, hit accept, and then if we go in the same order that we selected them, we select this outside circle, we can now set an offset here. Let's make this 1.5. We go to the next one in order. We'll make this one 2. And if you notice, the value comes up with the same one that we just entered for the last one, so it defaults back to that value. And this one will do 2.5. Another way, you can also select the faces first before using offset. So let's say we want to select these 3 faces. We'll pick those first, we'll hit offset, and then we'll select the face that we want to offset to in order. So we selected the left one first, so we'll select that one, offset it. I want to offset to this back face, 1 millimeter, and the left side as well. So now if we go back in, we can click the edit handle here, and we have these options here. We can either select the one face that we clicked on and edit just that one. We have the option to select multiple, which would be all 3 of them, since we did them all together in the offset, or we have the selection manager, which includes all the similar offsets. So it would pick any other offset in the part that was 1 millimeter. So for now we're just going to leave it on all featured faces here, and we can change that and it'll update all 3 of those offsets at one time for us. The next relationship we're going to show you, we have some more offset here real quick, and parallel offset, or excuse me, parallel relationship. So we zoom in on this tank here. Let's say we want to make these 2 faces parallel. So we'll go up here to parallel. We'll pick those 2 faces, and we want them to be persisted. So that means they'll be locked together. If we make any changes to one, the other one will stay parallel to it. So we'll accept those. Now let's say we want to do an offset, and we don't want this persisted. We just want this one time right now. So we'll select that face and select this outside face over here, and you can see it brings that other face that we made parallel along with it. And then we can also key in a value for that offset. If we go to the other side now, we can also do some other offsets. We want these to be persisted, so we'll edit this one. We want to offset to this outside face, key in a value. Let's do the other side now. We'll do that to this outside face. Let's make that 65. Now we can also do it to radius here. We'll select that one and go to the outside face. And if we enter in a value here, you can see that since we have live rules on it, it'll also take these tangent faces with it and offset those as well. And if we do one more over here to the bottom face, enter in a value, it keeps this radius constant offset since we applied the offset up here, and it's persisted. Also, we can come in here then, and if we want to change the angle of this face, it'll keep that offset constant since we had it persisted. The next relationship I'll show you is the horizontal-vertical relationship. So So here we have a 2D sketch. We have a couple horizontal and vertical relationships applied. So if we grab that region and extrude it some distance, it'll now place those relationships onto the 3D model here and places them in their own separate section of the Pathfinder. So then if we go in here, we can make some edits to the part. So if we start driving this dimension, you can see it'll keep those relationships that we had applied earlier. You can see that better here if we grab this center circle, and since we had a vertical relationship here, it's going to keep it in the center of this part. So if we start moving it left, it'll bring the whole right side with it because of live rules and because of that relationship. I have another example of this as well. With this, we can choose horizontal, vertical here. We'll select this outside face, and you can see that it'll make it vertical for us. We can also do this face over here and make that one vertical as well. Let's say we want to make these two cutouts in line horizontally here. Well, the way horizontal vertical works, it'll work on the primary axis the way that you have your screen oriented. So if we had it oriented this way, it's going to try to work off the Z and Y axis to make it horizontal and vertical. But we don't want it that way. We want it to be in this direction, so we'll turn our screen to be in this direction. So just remember to have your screen oriented in the right way before you place the relationship. So we'll place it here. And if it's not what you want, you can hit N and cycle through, but this is what we want here, so we'll accept that. And if we go over and grab our cutout, then we can drag it around, and you'll see it'll keep our relationship with that circular cutout as well, which is pretty cool. Next example we'll talk about is web networks. Let me open up a part here. You can see in this part we have a sketch here already. So if we go to our web network command, we can select single here and just fence select that sketch we had, hit accept, and by default the web network looks for the body of the part and goes in that direction, so it knows that the part is below, so it'll go in that direction. We'll change the thickness to 1 and hit accept. Now if we come down here and try to make changes to this, we can do some synchronous moves. We can move our steering wheel and start to move this part. And you see it'll bring the other one over here on the right, and if we suspend live rules, it'll still do that. And that's because that feature was drawn as one line, and that's why it is moving it, because it's one entity, and not because of live rules, not because it's symmetric or anything. So just keep that in mind when drawing. We can also come in here and select this face, and if we start to move this, it'll move the whole thing as one feature as well. And we have live rules on, so that's what's moving the other one on the screen. And the reason this is moving because it was drawn as a line arc line, so it is just one entity as well. We can move the steering wheel up here, and if we try to rotate this, it's going to move. It is one thing as well too. Another thing that's new is adding dimensions. If we do distance between here, we can place a dimension from this edge, and then what we can do now is go to the midpoint of this rib. So if we go up here and select midpoint, we can zoom in, you can see the feedback it gives us of the midpoint there. So if we want the midpoint of this side, we can click there, and now it dimensions to that midpoint. We can enter in a value, let's say 15. And now it's dimensioned from that edge to the midpoint of this web there. We can also do this across. Let's do it from this corner here to the same corner over here. And now we have a dimension going across the part as well, from midpoint of this web to that one. You can use the same thing on ribs as well. So if we come up and do another distance between, we can do it from the outside point here to the midpoint of this rib. We'll lock that, go to this midpoint, lock it, and the other rib. So now if I come over and edit this 23 millimeter dimension, start changing it, it'll bring those other ones with us, and they're all dimensioned from that midpoint. Also, as I showed you before, if we click this, we can edit the width of it, and it'll come up with our selections here. We can select just this one rib to edit the width of. We can select all similar features here, or we can select everything that's 2 millimeters wide. We're just going to keep it on these front ribs up here, and we're going to change it to 1.5 millimeters, and it updates all of them. I'll come back to the PowerPoint for just a second. Next thing I'm going to show you is variable table enhancements. Like I said, there wasn't much done to this, but these were popular requests that people wanted done. I'll show you that in a second. We also have extrude from assembly faces. In asynchronous, you can turn on the background components and extrude from a face of other components to whatever part you may be working on. So I'll show you this in a second as well. So if we go back to Solid Edge here, I'll show you the variable table enhancement. And just open up the part here. I go to Tools and the variable table. So now you see if you go over each of these, it highlights the dimension on the part. But what you do now, if you double click it, it'll remain highlighted and you can drive it here from the variable table. If you did this in previous versions, it wouldn't stay highlighted down here. So here we can just drive this dimension any way we want. Also, it's more Excel table-like, so if you want, you can click on a cell. If you hit Enter, it'll go down. If you hit Shift Enter, it will go up. If you hit Tab, it'll go right. And Shift Tab scrolls left. So that was a popular request by people. Another new tool is the Rotate tool. If we click our scroll wheel and then move over the part, you see this red dot, and this is for rotate. And we can then click on any face, point, edge, or a center line of a circle and rotate this part. So if I click here and hold my middle mouse wheel, I can rotate this part around that point. Also, if I do it around, let's say, this center point here, it'll let me rotate it around that center point. So those are some new tools to help you manipulate your models around. Let me open up another sheet metal part here. We're going to talk about the gauge table. If you go to the Programs folder, you can find this Excel sheet. It's called Gauge Table. At the top of the sheet here, it shows you what types of units we're using. If we go to this worksheet, steel, we're working in inches here. If you scroll down, you can see each gauge for this material. We have 10 gauge, 12 gauge, and 16 gauge. For each gauge name, there is a default bend radius, relief depth, and width, which can be defined for each material and gauge. So for 10 gauge, we can have a different thickness than 12 gauge and so on. In older versions, the gauge thickness was the same for all materials. So 16 gauge steel was the same as 16 gauge copper or aluminum, which isn't always the case. With the gauge table, you can now edit those values for different materials. Also, before ST4, there was only one type of neutral factor. With this spreadsheet, you can now determine the neutral factor for different bend angles and radiuses. So if we had a bend angle of 30 degrees and a radius of 0.5, the neutral factor would be 0.08. So we come over here to this part, and let's look at the property of this bend here. Our neutral factor here is 0.33, which isn't necessarily true. This is the default. But when we apply this from the material or the gauge table that I just showed you, when we apply that, it'll update when we make a flat pattern. It won't show you in that property, but when you actually update and do the flat pattern, it'll use the correct neutral factor. So we can come over here and edit the material properties and associate it to the gauge table. So we can go here, associate gauge table, use the Excel sheet, and it uses the default one that's included with it. And let's use stainless steel. Now we can update in library. If you click update in library, it will force the stainless steel to always associate to that particular worksheet in that gauge table. So if we do that, then we can come over to gauge, and here we can't edit these properties because those are associated with the gauge table. You can just edit them there, as well as the sheet metal gauge. These come from the gauge table. You can use the neutral factor from the Excel file, though. Here you can either use the default or use those calculated ones on that sheet. So then if you hit apply to model, it'll apply all those properties to it, and when you flatten it, it'll give you your neutral factor and any other property that you applied. Next thing I'm going to show you now is the extrude from assembly faces. So here I have an assembly. Let me activate it. And what we want to do is create support for this frame in here. We want to support this frame onto this plastic piece down here. So what we're going to do is edit into this blue plastic piece. We're going to turn on our background components then. And what we can do is go extrude, and we can grab that face, hit through next, and extrude it down to that plastic part. And it'll create that extrusion for us from the same material as the plastic part. We can do the same thing on the other side. We'll click that face, hit accept, through next, and down to our part. So we turn off the background components. You can see the two extrusions we just added there. We'll add another cutout to a part back here. You can see that the black piece is going right through this one, so we need to come in here and edit this and make some cutouts. So we'll turn on the background levels, use extrude, we'll grab the top face of that black part, and we want to cut, so we'll just hit spacebar and it'll allow us to cut. We'll just cut straight down from it. We'll click extrude again, do this side, and cut down through. Now, this, if you make changes, let's say to this frame, it won't update that extrusion you made unless you apply an inner part copy to it and add links to it, but by default it won't do that. The next thing I'm going to show you now is how to copy components using the steering wheel. So let's say we want to move this bracket over. So we can select it. We can move the steering wheel then to key point so that we're able to find it in the spot that we want to place it. So we want to move from here to this location. To do it, all we have to do is come up here and hit copy. So we'll hit copy. We can grab the secondary axis here and start dragging it over. Now if you don't want to see that preview of it, you can hit Control-Shift-D and it gets rid of the preview, but you're still doing a copy move right now. So we can come over to that other key point we want to place it at and place it. Now we have our assembly relationship options. When you copy parts or subassemblies, you can reassign the relationships. The do not repair is the same that would happen when you copied an ST3. It would come up with a window that says delete, suppress, or cancel. On ST4, we can attempt to repair the relationships instead. You can adjust any mates or lines with that top option there, and then it'll attempt to replace to new faces where possible. If you attempt to replace faces, it'll ask you to select a part that you want to attempt to replace the faces from. You also have the option to replace offset values where possible, or to replace to new faces where possible. So we're just going to do with repair relationships and adjust offset values and replace to other components. So if we hit OK, what it does now is it made 3 mates for us down here. So fully constrained it for us. So all we had to do is copy move and it reconstrained the part for us, which saves a lot of time. And we have a copy then. The next option, or new enhancement I should say, is the center plane relationship. So here we have two blocks and we want to keep this center block between this outside one. So to do that, we go up here, relate, and we can select center plane. We have the option between single or double. I'll show you single in a second. Double, we have to select two faces then for the first part. So we select these two outside faces. And then we'll select the corresponding faces on the other part. And now this part is centered between here. So if we make a move here, we'll grab these outside faces here, suspend live rules, and we'll start dragging this out, and you can see it keeps that block between the two faces. I have another example of this. I'll show you how to use the single as well. So if we bring in another washer here, and we add just a relationship between the centers of that, we can then go in and do our relationship here, our center plane. We can do double, select the two outside faces of it, and select the inside faces of the other washers, and now it's centered in there. And here, if we move this drag component, we have a cam relationship applied to this part. So if we do drag component, you can see that it keeps that center washer between the two blue washers. I'll show you the single one now. So if we go to the center plane again and we use single, first we have to turn on our reference plane here. So if you had your reference plane shown, you can do single, grab that reference plane, and say what two faces you want it to be between. So once again, if we do drag component, we can click on this part and move it. And you can see it keeps it in there again. Alright, that's all I had today. If you'd like to see more about ST4, you can go here to our website, alliedplm.com. If you go to events, webinars, live events, you can go browse the Solid Edge. And if you want to see a live event, we have more on what's new in ST4. These are approximately 3-hour live webinars that you can learn more about. We have them in multiple locations. We have Cincinnati, Miamisburg, Louisville, Indianapolis. So if you want to register for one of these, just come to our website and you can register here. You can also register for future Lunch Bytes, and we'll have replays of Lunch Bytes up on the website soon. For now, replays of our Lunch Bytes can be seen on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/alliedplm. Thanks for your attention. I appreciate it. I hope you found this session informative. Please email us any questions you may have or ideas for future Lunch Byte topics. Be sure to stay tuned in 2 weeks for more on what's new in ST4. Once again, I appreciate your time. Thanks and have a great day.